right, well, now for something totally different. I can't explain what a cloud evangelist is to anybody, especially not even to my mother, but basically what I do is I work in cloud computing, building big infrastructures for a company called Red Hat that supplies the software to do that. And they have a policy, an 80-20. You work 80% of the time, and 20% of the time you get to work on cool things that you want to. But they have an ethos of doing these things in a way that are open standards and open source, so you give it away for free. So I've been working on a project that's the intersection of 4 passions of mine. I'm cloud computing, maps, social media, and open source. And for those of you who don't know open source, that means we give the software and the code away so you can build whatever you want for it for free. And I'm also very addicted to totem poles. And in the social media world, most of you have all heard of Idle No More, I hope. We live on the coast. I had the pleasure of meeting the woman in the light blue, Sylvia McAdams, in London a few months back when I was giving this presentation, and they gave me an hour and a half to do it. I'm obsessed with totem poles and maps, and maps are great things because they filter out all the chaos in the world and let you be very obsessive about one items. And in this case, the movie star homes are what other people are obsessed with movie stars. I'm not. I'm obsessed with people like Tony Paul in Seychelles, who's a good friend and a wonderful carver who's gotten to introduce me stuff. George Vancouver was obsessed with putting his name on a lot of things and discovering all of Vancouver, and he made a different kind of map, not maps of Hollywood homes, but maps of Quadra and Vancouver Island and Howe Sounds, and all these names are names that we all know from British history, and so this all happened back in 1792, but this is actually where we live, right? We know this. We know that I can't pronounce most of the names, and I can't even say Pachikucha, or whatever it is we're supposed to say, but I feel very blessed that I get to live here in Seychelles and Gibsons, and I think we have to really give back what we can, because basically, for a totem pole geek like me, this is nirvana. This is my now 16-year-old nephew in Stanley Park, and most people think of totem poles as touristic things. And when I went to London, a lot of people thought of totem poles as things that were no longer being made. I was giving this presentation, and someone said, "They still make totem poles?" And I had to explain that they're here in our shopping malls. They're everywhere. Some of these are, 3 of these, I think, Tony Paul carved. And they're going up around St. Mary's. It's a living, breathing art that everybody here, I think, appreciates, but a lot of times we don't know who the actual carver is of that totem pole. We go to the airport, and I go to the airport a lot because I travel for work, and I love coming back to Vancouver because you come back, you walk into that airport, and it's a breath of fresh air, it's a breath of First Nations art, and it's so well done. And I think that's something that British Columbians, sometimes we take it for granted, and what I've been trying to do, and now no longer will it be on our money, but it's still on the money today, I think. I'm pretty sure it's on the $20 bill in my pocket, that we still have this appreciation for this art form. And one of the project I'm working on is trying to create a map of all the publicly accessible totem poles across all of BC. It started out that way. Started out actually with geocaching. Anyone know what geocaching is? Yes, okay. I'm an obsessive technology nut, and I love the technology behind geolocation that lets me find a little cache like this one, and it's a sort of an open source game. You have to, if you're gonna do it, you're supposed to hide some yourself. And so when I started playing this game, going around the world, finding them and hiding them, geocaching.com is where you can find out all the details, I decided to come back to Vancouver and start hiding geocaches near totem poles. Why not, right? So I started with 12 of them in downtown Vancouver. And it's a lot of work to maintain them. I ended up with like 150 different locations that I found, and it just kept getting more and more. And I still host about 4 of them, but because you can't do all of them and have a day job. But I have lots of data, and I'm also obsessive about sharing things. So I started thinking about, all right, geocaching.com's cool, but it's not really a map, and it's not really a way to curate it and tell people the stories of the carvers or connect someone to someone like Tony Paul so that he can make a living to share a carving or the history. And there's lots of tools out there that we use in social media, but they're not really appropriate because they don't, one, they're not attached to real maps, and they have issues around privacy. My totem pole pictures ended up showing in an ad at one point. There's no real good way to have attribution, who the picture, whether it's Barry's picture or my picture, or it's something that I want to be able to use Creative Commons with, which is the standard for sharing on the internet of images. So I built what every nerd does. I used my cloud computing 20% time and built a public site. It's called discovertotems.com. You can go sit there, go out and look at it, and it does have Creative Commons attributions license. I'm only publishing publicly accessible totems. I'm working with some of the bands and making sure that I don't put something that's on sacred land or someplace like that. And I hope lots of other people would come and collaborate and visit this site, but nobody did. Okay, it's a beautiful site, it's wonderful, it's there. I didn't get the visitor traffic. I did get other people going out and sending me information and GPS locations. But I've been doing this for I don't know, Lori, how long? Too long. But I had an epiphany. My epiphany was I didn't give people the right tools to help collaborate with me. So what I did was I saw our daughter playing with Wattpad, which is and she was writing essays on her iPhone. And I was standing there going, okay, I've got to do an iPhone app because this will allow me to point and click at a totem pole, capture the GPS location, and write a little story, because kids will write stories, or teachers will write stories, or make them write stories, and that automatically gets posted to the website, which is really cool, but still it's the publicly accessible one. But what I've gone to the next step is created a federation of small wiki sites so that I can stand one up for a youth group or a church group or a school group, and they can have their own one and use it in their classrooms. And so that's the project I'm working on, and if you'd like to come map with me, I'd love to talk more about it some other time with you during the break. I'm Discover Totems on Twitter, and it's discovertotems.com. Yeah.